Hey there, it's Jen, and I'm excited to share another layout with you using the pink Paislee Pick Me Up collection by Paige Evans. Today I'm going to scrapbook these two photos. They're 3x4 of my nephews and my daughter going through this little tunnel at the zoo. And I kind of want to tell a story about how life is a tunnel. It's like when you get in there, sometimes it's dark, you don't know where you're going, but it's relatively short and something like that. And it goes so quickly, like they're so grown up, I can't even believe it. So what I want to do today is focus on the stamp set that comes with this collection, and it's really fun, it's really cute. You can see that it has like a solid on one part, and then the other side is like a dotted look, so it's blank. So when you stamp this in a color, it looks really cool. But what I'm going to do today is actually emboss it, and sorry for this band-aid on my finger, but and I already did a little test run to see how it would work out. And here it is on this paper. So I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but where the dots are, you can see it's a little bit less filled in. And it doesn't matter for the purposes of what I'm doing today. That's a very detailed stamp. And so if you want a really clean look, I would suggest just stamping with ink. But for this, what I want to do is do a circle like this, like a circle that is winding out with the word tunnel in it. So it hurts me a little bit to not use this side of the paper, but this one just matches so perfectly with my photos. And I just got the 6x6 paper pad, and it has 2 sheets of this in it, so I will be okay. Or not the 6x6, the 12x12. I think the 6x6 has it as well, so yeah, I'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and start on that. I'll show you the beginning of the process, but I won't show you the whole thing because it's going to be quite labor intensive. I like doing fussy little projects like this, but if you wanted it to take less time, you could stamp it with regular ink, or you could stamp across the lines. That way you could put the word tunnel on one block and just stamp, 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 stamp. And I think that would be really fun too. In fact, I think it would be really cool to do a tonal, like if you did a dark blue here, a light blue here, an aqua here, like kind of match the colors with your inks so that the color just barely stands out. Maybe I'll try that on another page because there's one that has pinks and purples, and so that would be fun to try on that page. But like I mentioned, I'm going to go in a circle because that's the shape of the tunnel, and I'm just going to go out and do it around a few times. And the center of it will get covered up, so I probably won't start at the center, but I'm going to draw myself some lines. So let me put you on fast forward and I'll walk you through my process.
Alright, so I'm going to start by just kind of sketching out a little swirl with a pencil, and I don't need it to be perfect, but I just want it there so I have some sort of guideline on where to start my stamping. And I'll start from the outside, you'll see in just a minute. So I'm erasing it because I felt like I didn't leave enough space between the lines for my words, and so I just drew it again. And be careful when you're erasing it. If you rub too much, it's going to rub off some of the color. It's not noticeable really, but just be careful. So I put on some powder from my EK Success powder tool, and that just helps the embossing powder to not stick where you don't want it to. But in this case, it really doesn't matter, and I still get embossing powder where I didn't mean to, but it works out fine because it gives it a little bit of a distressed look, and I actually really like it. So I have each letter of the alphabet on a different stamp block, and I found that was really easy to do. I'm just showing you one here now that I just poured on the white embossing powder, and I'm going to heat that up. And now here is the finished product. So it turned out really pretty, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but there are little lines, or I mean little dot. You can kind of see the little dots. Now I'm putting my blocks back. That's in the cute little hedgehog that my friend CJ gave me. And now I'm going to look for something to back this, because if you can see, the circle is not centered, and that really bothers me. So I'm going to cut that paper down, and I'm going to place it on another piece of paper. I thought about white because all the words are white and the background is not, but you'll see in a minute, I found something amazing, and I really love the way it turned out. So here I'm thinking about the white and deciding against it. And then I found this paper that fades from blue to aqua, and I will end up going with that, but not before I look through the rest of the papers first. So I'm looking through everything, and trying to decide what might look right here, and none of the colors seemed like they were really the right fit for me. And so I turned back to that fading one, and the reason I was trying to find something else is because I love that paper so much that I didn't want to use it if I didn't have to. I wanted to use it for a background, but I end up just going ahead and using it. But I got out the middle, and then I still have a bit of that prettiness that I can use on another layout, because sometimes I'm stingy like that. But we all know that I have so much paper, I'll never get through it. So it's okay if I use stuff. So now I'm going to use some double-sided tape from Thermoweb, and this is the 1/2 inch size, and I'm just going around that center rectangle, and I'm not going to go around the edges of the other paper because I might want to do something with them later or stitch them down or something like that. So I'm just putting the adhesive in the center and then trying to adhere that the best that I can. And look how awesome that looks. I'm really, really happy with the way that paper looks with those colors. So I was trying to flip this around to see if I wanted the dark part to be at the bottom, because it feels like it's heavier, and so maybe I needed to put it at the bottom, but I just like the green on the bottom, so I just left it there. Now I'm thinking that I might do my title with these with the chipboard letter stickers that come with this collection. And so I find all of the letters in blues and greens, and I'm thinking I can wrap it around the circle, and I actually do think that looks nice, but I end up going with something a little bit different. I felt like maybe it was just a little too much for this layout, so I'm going to leave it there for a minute, but you'll see in the end I changed my mind. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through the sticker sheet and the chipboard stickers as well, and I'm pulling out anything blue and green that might work with this layout. And I am including some of the butterflies or moths because this is at the zoo and there were animals there. And I even thought about including a crane, but it just didn't quite fit in. You'll see that too. So I decided that this page is mostly blue and green, and I love that because the last page I did for this collection was very feminine and florally, and this is definitely not that. So I wanted to show the versatility here. You can make a pink page, you could make a blue page, you could make a colorful page. Like, there's so much that you can do with this awesome collection. So I decided to add in just a little bit of pops of other colors. So I pull out some pink items as well, and they have blue on them, so it kind of really ties in. And I'm just going to go ahead and map my photos on some white cardstock so they stand out a little bit. And I cut one of the pieces of cardstock too small, so I'm just going to pull out another piece and redo it. Scraps are great for matting photos, so you can see that I've got the scrap there. And I'm just going to make the edges a little bit more even. And so I put the picture of my daughter on the left because she's turned just a little bit that way, and so it looks like she could crawl more into the middle of the page, if that makes sense, if she were coming out of the photo. And so I put it on the left. So here's where I decide that I don't want my title to be that huge thing. I decide that I want it to be "Life is a tunnel, not a cave." And that was a quote that I came across on when I just Googled tunnel. And so I really like the thought of that you're going in, but you're coming back out. Like, it's not the end. There's light at the end, and you're not stuck in there. It's not a cave. You're not going to hit that wall. And I just thought that was important for me to kind of note to self. So I popped up the Life chipboard sticker a little bit because I wanted it to have extra dimension. And now I use some foam tape for that from Close to My Heart. It's thin foam tape. And now I'm layering up some different like words strip stickers, and here's where I'm trying to make that puffy crane work. It just doesn't quite fit in, but I think it definitely would have had a home on this layout if I had the right spacing. So I decided to pull out some more of the butterflies and see how they look, and I'm just going to start kind of layering things up. And I decide to kind of make my embellishments go up and down between the photos there, and you'll see me add more things. I'm just grabbing different hearts and different pieces that I pulled out before. I put them on wax paper so that they could retain their stickiness while I was just pulling everything out. And that's a nice way if you were going through a bunch of stickers and you're not sure exactly what you'll use, but you want to have it near you, you can just put it on a piece of wax paper, the same as I do my titles. So I decided, since the bottom had 3 little word strips, that I wanted to do some at the top of the photos as well. So I'm just pulling out a variety of pieces that kind of work with this theme or the colors. I'm going to play around with the placement a bit, and I'm using some chipboard, some stickers, and then you'll see here soon, it might be a while before I decide, but I'm going to, because I took my typewriter to type up the rest of my title on that little white strip below the word life, I'm going to stamp my date on a little white strip and add it to the top part, just so that there's a repetition there. So there was a chipboard arrow on the chipboard sticker sheet, and it was perfect to point to where the word tunnel started. So I like the way that turned out. And then from the haberdashery little embellishment thingy, stickers or whatever, I put some of the gold sequins, and I think that just adds something. Now in the video you can't see the reflection of them, so they look kind of black or dark, but they end up looking really nice. And then from the 6x6 paper pad, there was a paper that had a bunch of different words on labels and banners and stuff, and they were just the right size because they're a little bit shrunken down for me to use as one of my little layers. And I wanted to bring in that greeny yellow color because I had a heart at the bottom in that color, or maybe it's a circle. Yeah, it's a puffy button sticker. And then I have a heart sticker that is also in that same color. And so I'm making sure that I have a repetition of color and shape. So I've got multiple butterflies, multiple hearts, multiple word stickers, and multiple sequins. And then they're all in similar colors, and they all have multiples of each color. So I ended up popping up the wings of that butterfly with just some foam tape, and I put some strong adhesive down the center of the butterfly to hold that part down. And I did the same with the little one at the bottom. And I really like the way that helps their wings stand up, and they won't flatten in my album because I put that foam behind them. So I'm just looking for one more little finishing touch here. You can see that I nestled some of those little pieces where there were awkward spaces, like that heart that's next to the pink love it at the top. That just kind of fit that space that was a little bit awkward, and I really like the way that turned out as well. So now I'm going to write my journaling in a white pen, and I just went around the circle and ended it where my arrow started, and that ended up looking really nice, I thought. So here this is where I'm deciding that I need to put the date somewhere. So I stamp it on a scratch piece of paper with some gray ink and cut it out, and I'm going to see how it looks on the layout. And at this point I'm not sure exactly where I'll add it. So I play around for a minute, and then I decide to take off that aqua colored strip and put the white one down, because I don't have any other aqua colored strips, and I feel like there's enough aqua represented on the page, and I wanted just another shot of that white. So I add that date below the chipboard piece that says love it. And now I pulled my sewing machine over, and I'm going to stitch white around the outside edges of that box. And if I would have known I was going to do this, then I would have done it before I layered and put everything else on my page, but this is when I decided to do it, and there was plenty of room for me to go ahead and just stitch around. So I'm just stitching once around a little box with white thread, and I feel like the white is a nice contrast. Look at all those colors on the back of the layout. I love it. So I'm just pulling my threads through to the back, and then I tape them down and trim off the excess bits of thread on the side. And now I'm taking my fingernail, this is something I do quite a lot, take my fingernail and just rub it against the edge of the paper to kind of rough it up a little. And I love the way that it adds like that white distressing on the paper, and it pops against the dark background. So I really like that. So now I'm thinking I want to add some white splatters, and so I just grabbed a little bit of white acrylic paint, added some water that I keep in a spray bottle on my desk, and I'm using a large brush, and I'm just going to add large dots here and there. This is something I learned from Paige Evans, actually, is to load up your paintbrush, and then you can kind of squeeze it and get out a big splotch, and then I just tapped it to get the smaller ones. I wanted it down the center where the embellishments were too, so I just covered up the parts of the photo that I didn't want to get paint on and splattered it down the center, and I think it looks pretty cool. So I added a few little paint splatters where I wasn't I wanted there to be extra and the paint just wasn't landing. And then because I was impatient, I took my heat tool and I tried to dry it because I want to also put on gold and I don't want the colors to mix. So I've got my Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine. I'm shaking it a lot, and now I'm just adding the gold in the places up and down the photo, just like I did with the white paint. And it ends up looking really awesome. So this is where I'm going to call this layout finished, and I hope that you have enjoyed. Be sure to head over to the Pink Paislee blog to find out more information. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment below. I'll link to all available products in the video description as well. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you very soon.